Hello everyone, welcome to my week 3 coverage of SPL. This week we're paired against the Cryos, and their ADV slot is z0mog. z0mog has ADV support on his team from Umbri, Shortage, RBY main Nails, and Smogon Meme Lord Finchinator. z0mog and I have quite a bit of experience between ourselves. 2 years ago, he was my manager on the Classiest, and we've played a lot of test games together. Without further fluff, let's dive into my team building process now. So, Disaster Area, also known formally as PIEXLAX, had this really cool idea of Yawn Snorlax. His idea was to pair Yawn Snorlax, you'll see the set in a moment, with Pursuit and maybe Gengar and Spikes. Now he said he couldn't quite get it working, and then with the help of Cowboy Dan, he put together this really nice looking Fortress Yawnlax team. And we'll have a look. This was his special Snorlax spread. Yawn, Body Slam, Focus Punch, and Self-Destruct. Sort of a bulky backbone for the team, which can also go in the offensive. And he's paired that up together with Aerodactyl. So the idea for Snorlax is to yawn and in general annoy a team, weaken it, and maybe potentially put a Skarmory to sleep, or something else bulky like a Metagross, and that will free up Aerodactyl to sweep. So really cool idea from Cowboy Dan and Disaster Area. So this was his team originally, and I thought the idea was really promising. I copied it, pasted it, and changed some things around. What I didn't really like about this team though was that it had a lot of paralysis flying around. There's Body Slam on the Lax and Thunder Wave on the Zapdos, and that seems like I didn't think it would work well with Yawn, since you're trying to threaten things out with Sleep. And naturally there is some EVs and spreads that I want to play around with and personalize to my own liking. So I copied the entire team, pasted it, and then created my own version of his idea, my own interpretation. And as you can see, first of all, I've personalized the Lax already. I've changed the EV spread to my favorite offensive Lax spread, and I pumped up the speed to 106 just to outspeed 100 base minimum speed Camerupt and things like that. And I've also swapped out Body Slam for a turn. I don't really care about the paralysis, but I do want that extra firepower. So that's the Snorlax spread. Pairing it with Spikes is a no-brainer. So we have our Fortress. Let me have a look at which Fortress he ran. He had Earthquake and Explosion. Okay. I've taken out Explosion and I've put in Hidden Power Bug because... Okay, let's move on to the second really goofy thing about this team, which is the Zapdos. Rest, Sleep Talk Zapdos with Raw was like the most common thing around and just walled half the BLs, or maybe 99% of the BLs, back when Sleep Talk mechanics weren't fully modernized. Now the Sleep Talk mechanics have changed a little bit, have been corrected rather, and with those corrections, Sleep Talk has become less effective overall. However, with Snorlax, offensive Snorlax being my sort of main specially defensive pivot, I wanted something else that was really solid and specially defensive. Of course, first thing that comes to mind is Jirachi. However, I've used Jirachi a lot, and I wanted to sort of build something without Jirachi. And also, things like Moltres and Gengar that want to throw out Will-O-Wisps, potentially Zapdos can... I have Tyranitar, but Zapdos can also eat those up nicely. So I have a pretty standard especially defensive Zapdos. I don't have any defensive investment because I want to really maximize my special bulk. Speed is just to outspeed max speed T-Tail, and yeah, maximizing special bulk here. Think this will be a nice surprise, and people generally don't run the set anymore. And supporting these two guys, Snorlax and Zapdos, I have a special Salamence, a 3-attack, special attacking Salamence with Wish. Now, when I was thinking about which move to drop for Wish, I thought Brick Break was expendable, which is ambitious, but my idea is that the things that I'm Brick Breaking, my other team members can handle, especially my Lax, and I also have a Brick Break. I also have Brick Break on my Tyranitar. So I've dropped Brick Break and thrown on Wish. And Wish is to keep my Zapdos and my Snorlax and all my other guys healthy. Gives me a lot more defensive flexibility. So since I don't have any physical attacks, I can run a minus attack nature, and my 4 leftover EVs I put into special defense to help it guarantee live a neutral natured max special attack Dragon Claw from opposing Salamence. So if it comes down to that, and I lose the 50-50 speed tie, I live Dragon Claw from full. So that's handy to know. And as you can see, because I've run Sleep Talk on Zapdos, it can't even scratch Refresh Pet, and that's another reason why I need Hidden Power Grass on Salamence. Also, it gets completely hard-walled by Claydol, and my Tyranitar is slow, and that's why I wanted that extra Hidden Power Bug coverage on the Fortress. My T-Tar set. Okay, so Crunch Pursuit is standard 4E support, and Fire Blast to nail Skarmory and other steel types. And for my 4th move, usually this is the move you would interchange between Ice Beam, Roar, Hidden Power Grass, Rest, Focus Punch, all of those things. And on this team in particular, I wanted to be able to hit Blissey and Snorlax hard without needing to rely on Focus Punch. So that's the reason. And for my EV spread, 248 HP is to make it really bulky, and it guarantee lives a max attack Meteor Mash from Adamant Metagross. And with that bulk as well, it also helps it to live Jolly Dugtrio Earthquake and also Hydro Pump from Offensive Starmie. With regards to speed creep, I mix it up a bit every week, and especially for tour games, it's more player dependent. My read on z0mog is he's not one of those guys who pumps a lot of speed into his defensive backbone. So I've decided outspeeding min speed Blissey plus 3 was my speed creep benchmark for my Tyranitar and also for my Swampert. And for Tyranitar, the leftover attack goes into, the leftover EVs go into attack. That will help its Brick Break sting a little bit more with spike support to put more pressure on Blissey as it tries to soft boil loop me. And last of all, just touching on the Swampert. Again, fairly standard bulky spread. I've cheated a bit on physical bulk. 44 special defense to help it live HP grasses. Speed creep as mentioned before. And 52 special attack to beef up its Hydro Pumps and Ice Beams. That's the team. And I think it's a lot of fun. It was doing alright in tests, but I don't think it's reliable enough to bring on a game-to-game basis. This was sort of a one-off invention, and I'll include a paste bin for both my team and DA's original team in the description. Now for the player-specific preparation and why I chose to bring this team this week. So my approach to choosing a team for a game is to find or hopefully build a new team that is very solid and good against most of the common metagame trends. And on top of that, do a sort of rough scout on my specific opponent's tendencies. Now, once again, I asked the Scooters, my SPL team, for sort of a scout, and once again they've proven amazing. I've provided a screen clip of help from the Idiot Ninja, one of my managers, and also Felix. You can have a look at what they've said, and as you'll see, they pretty much hit the nail on its head. We didn't hit nails yet, that's gonna happen soon. But this was what Felix said was also my philosophy, and I wanted to choose and find a team or build a team that loaded up on those anti-offense techs, but also anti-fighting, anti-Breloom ideas. And so that's why I have Immense with Wish, and also a Rest Talk Zapdos. Okay, so now time to dive into the game analysis. I live recorded this, and I'm narrating a couple of hours after the game. We have a Salamence lead on Zapdos, and usually both run away from that matchup. I've gone to my Fortress as a mid-ground to catch the Rock Resist, which would usually be Metagross or Swampert. Tyranitar is a fine turn 1 switch as well from Zapdos, and I usually like to do that because you catch the Fortress or Skarmory. Well, probably not Skarmory on Zapdos, but Fortress especially. So this is a free spike, and we are going to learn something about his team. If he clicks Hydro, based on the roll, we'll be able to tell if it's an offensive pert, and it'll be one of those spikeless offenses, but he goes to his own Fortress. So it's a Fortress Mirror, and this is going to be a very tough matchup because we don't have a Gengar, and Fortress walls or checks my own Fortress, Lax, Pert, and my Zapdos. So we'll have to play very precisely to put pressure on him, and he also has a Zapdos in the back. So my team is a little bit soft against Zapdos. I have to dance around it between my pivots. Snorlax is not a good Zapdos answer. And so I switch in my Tyranitar as he goes for his own spikes. Fairly standard play on turn 3 from both of us, and now I have to decide, am I just going to throw out a Fire Blast, not predict, or am I going to try to predict the switch? Now if you look at z0mog's team, he's Zapdos, Pert, and Fori revealed already. He needs another... Zapdos is never the only special defensive mon, so he has either a Blissey, Celebi, or Jirachi, one of those three, as the 4th guy. And he has to have a Tyranitar / Umbreon in the 5th slot. And then the 6th slot could be Gengar. We know that it's Breloom, but it could be a range of things, the 6th. But the other 2 mons we pretty much know for sure. And so none of those things particularly like switching into this Tyranitar. Especially because I haven't revealed that I don't have Grass, so Swampert is a horrible switch in against a Tyranitar on a Fortress team. So he's taking his time here, and I sort of take a while to make up my mind as well. And he switches into Zapdos and takes 26% from that Fire Blast. We learn that he is specially defensive. In this game, I'd calc a bit at the beginning, but later on, I don't have time. I'll explain why later, but I do far less calcing in this game than I normally do. And for that reason, I feel like my decisions were much more shaky and it was felt like more guesswork than I normally like to play with. Just checking out some of the T-bolt rolls. So, how does my team deal with specially defensive Zapdos? My own Rest Hawk Zapdos can handle it, Lax can handle it, Fortress can handle it, but it's all a chipping game. And here I decide to stay in. I value the chip on it for it to be weakened, and that will free up. If it is forced to rest, then I will be able to launch free attacks later on and to fish for those RNG special drops or fish for crits if necessary. He Toxics and we land a Crunch. So that Toxic is going to stick. Oh, and I would also like to say that I don't mind taking a bit of getting my Tyranitar crippled, or long-term crippled, because even if he did have a Gengar, okay, so a bit of hindsight here, he doesn't have Gengar, but my logic was, during the game, he's very likely to not have Gengar in the back, because of his general style and team choices. But even if he does have a Gengar, it's probably going to be defensive, and Rest Hawk Zapdos can really check those bulky Gengars. So I did allow my Tyranitar to get crippled like this, and now I'm switching into Fortress. Turn 6 was a really tough decision. I wasn't sure what to do. I switch to Fortress and I take a big Thunderbolt. He's going to Thunderbolt again as I Rapid Spin, and that brings me down very low. I'm not sure if that was the best sequence for me. Okay, I check the Snorlax damage roll on special defensive Zapdos and return KOs from this range, or at least plus Sand. He makes a really good double switch to Fortress as I go Lax. Now, he has to be wondering, am I going to run Fire Blast on this Lax? Why am I running Lax on a 4E team? These are probably things that he is thinking about. For me, I don't really have a good punish for this Fortress, unfortunately, and so I'm going to reveal my tech, or the Disaster Area tech of Yawn. Yawn is probably going to force the Fortress out, and we'll be able to land a hit on something coming in. So his play is most likely to switch out, and I want to throw out an attack. Now here I consider, does he have a Gengar in the back? Do I want to double in my Pursuit Tyranitar to catch the Gengar? But even if he had Gengar, he might not switch it in, cold like this, and there's also a really high chance he doesn't even have it, and I'll just feel like such a fool switching in my Tyranitar to Spikes, especially with the Toxic negating its lefty's recovery. So I throw out a Focus Punch, it does 32% to his Swampert, and I pivot into Zapdos as he Earthquakes. I don't have HP Grass, but he doesn't know that, and it's impossible to tell. I would argue that it's almost impossible to tell based on my team composition. So I'm just going to bluff that I have HP Grass, force out the Swampert, and get some Thunderbolt chip on whatever's coming in. And he goes to Bliss. We get a crit, and now you may think like the crits don't matter, but actually they do help me a lot because they whittle down Bliss by quite a lot and force it to soft-boiled sooner than it might have otherwise needed to. And that means I can bring in my physical threat, Snorlax, without worrying about taking Seismic Toss chip. I throw out a Yawn again as he goes Fortress, and here it's still a tough matchup. I'm not winning by any means, especially I'm playing this game as if the Zapdos has rest. Later it reveals that it doesn't, but I'm playing as if as if it has rest. And so I still feel like I'm behind. I need to make some reads. I feel like he's going to rapid spin. That blocks focus punch. My last has to be a rock resist, so it can't be Gengar, so rapid spin is free for him. And my only way to balance out the progress he gets from rapid spin is to send in my own fortress and to get up the spike. Now I have to consider, do I spin or do I spike? And because my team is more offensive, I want to get down the spike as he goes Tyranitar. By the way, turn 17-18 is when I decide for sure his last is not Gengar, because that was a turn where Gengar, I feel like he would have gone Gengar if he had it. So turn 18 was another important moment where I have to decide, am I staying in with my fortress? And I felt like keeping it was useful, especially with Wish. With one Mon close to dying, I can have a Wish up in the air, go to Fortress, sack it, and then land the Wish on something else that I want to heal up. So I throw out a Wish. I decide that turn to take the risk. If he has Rock Slide or Ice Beam, I would have taken a lot of chip. But that was a risk I was willing to take. And I thought that even if it had those moves, I would still be able to play around the rest of his team. And on the Wish turn, he uses counter. So if I had Brick Breaked, I would have been toast. I don't have Brick Break. But now, my Salamence still loses to his... My Salamence loses to the Tyranitar 1v1. So I switch out, he doesn't pursue. Maybe turn 22, especially in hindsight, knowing his team, and he has a Breloom in the back, maybe it would have been really helpful to get a pursuit off there. At the same time, Crunch gets a lot of good general chip, so I guess Crunch is a good play as well. It's a safer mid-ground. He goes to Blissey on my Hydro, and again I get a crit. I've been getting so lucky. And this turn, my plays are to Earthquake or to go to Snorlax. And I feel like Earthquake has benefits of getting a crit and killing, and also maybe, as you saw, if he softballs, I get 1 or 2 turns of lefties recovery, and that turn was horrible from z0mog. Seismic Toss there doesn't make much sense. It's a medium to high risk move with very low reward, and with that, the Blissey is forced to switch out as my speed creep on the Swampert has paid off. A faster Earthquake would have killed it, and I decide not to predict. This Zapdos is far less of a threat than the Blissey, and it wasn't worth taking the risk. Because at this stage, there is a chance that z0mog thinks that he's so behind that he wants to take the risk of keeping in his Bliss. So I guess I make the more conservative move, and he reaps the rewards by getting his Zap in for free. We trade hits. He T-bolts, I Crunch. The follow-up Crunch will kill, but I also don't want to take a T-bolt on my Tyranitar as much, because Tyranitar walls his own Tyranitar, and can also really pressure his Fortress and Blissey all in one. So I switch into Salamence, trying to catch the Thunderbolt or Rest from the Zapdos, and he goes Swampert. That was just a happy accident. I was trying to catch the Zapdos, and I've caught the Swampert. And beautifully, this works out beautifully as Salamence is now in position to get a kill. His Blissey is on 30%, so after spikes, it's not hitting anything, and nothing else on his team wants to switch into Mets. I calc the Ments roll on Bliss, and even on fairly not bulky Blissey, it's not likely to kill, and especially because based on that Earthquake damage, it feels like he has significant investment. One thing that I forgot to say was that Earthquake roll felt like old max HP-ish roll, and what that means is that Blissey probably isn't running a special attack. So he has, he's shown seismic toss, soft boiled, and okay, so turns are going really quickly. I'm missing out on some things. I throw a wish in the air and I get in Snorlax for free. And this turn, again, my timer is low and I feel like I'm making some wrong decisions. High risk moves, where if he wakes up, he spins or booms. I'm seriously behind. I'm sort of banking on the fact that he doesn't get an early wake. But potentially on turn 33 or 34, or maybe, yeah, 33, 34, or 35, I feel like my play is Tyranitar there. In hindsight, it feels super clear, but during the game, I don't know. But yeah, probably a mistake in the heat of the moment. And I also return, so much cringe. It doesn't kill. And here I finally realized to go to Tyranitar. So I hate the way I've played this game. It's very imprecise. Imprecise. And luckily for me, he stays asleep again. And I feel like that is very relevant to RNG. So this game, I've been getting lucky all game. I've had 2 crits on Blissey, and I've had a favorable long sleep on Fortress. Once again, with this Zapdos Tyranitar encounter, I'm going to switch into Mence. And that's because Mence is most useless against his team. Well, it's revealed later that he has a Breloom, but with a healthy Swampert and Rest Talk Zapdos with Roar, I have enough tools to deal with the Breloom that I felt like Salamence was more expendable than Tyranitar. Potential mistake, I'm not sure about turn 38. He goes Tyranitar, and my next hit is not going to kill it. He can trap me, so I have to decide how do I get the most value out of this turn. And I decide my Mence can go. I had already made the decision that it is expendable, so I'm going to throw up a wish, heal up my Swampert, as I feel like the Swampert really annoys his team. Well, I forgot to mention earlier, when his Zapdos reveals that it doesn't have rest, when he revealed, I believe, Hidden Power Grass, that makes things a lot easier. I don't have to worry about killing the Zapdos, it's just going to die. And in hindsight, since it doesn't have rest, maybe he should have been more conservative with its health. He was playing it like he had rest, and he made me believe that it had rest, but the fact that he didn't benefit from that misinformation at all. I miss a Hydro. I'm not sure how important that is. And here he reveals his last, which is in fact Breloom, his favorite trademark Mon, and this could definitely turn things around. I go straight hard Zapdos, and he throws out the Swirl immediately. He doesn't worry about throwing a Focus Punch. But on the turn that he Focus Punches, I reveal Sleep Talk. I get a beautiful Sleep Talk roll. Thunderbolt, 2 in 3 chance I get something good. Roll would have forced it out. Thunderbolt denies Focus Punch. And I think my plan was that if I don't get a good roll for Sleep Talk, I can sack my Fortress and bring in Swampert to check that Breloom. As it was, since I landed a Thunderbolt, I had another Sleep Talk for free. And so I've clicked that, and we roared out the Blissey and brought back in the Breloom. Perfect sequence of events. Getting so lucky this game. This Rest Talk Zapdos is going to clean house, probably. I roar again just because anything I bring in is good, and I'm just forcing chip on his team. I have no reason to predict. I'm much ahead. I can just play conservatively and chip down his entire team. We roar in Tar, and I'm looking to Thunderbolt the Tar down. If he switches out to Blissey, I can rest up on it, and he can't really break my Zapdos. So unless he gets some really lucky RNG, the game is pretty much over now. One thing that doesn't help his cause at all is that he is running Adamant Breloom, and that is outsped by Zapdos. So for that reason, this is one of the main reasons. Breloom wants to outspeed the bulky Jirachis, bulky Zapdoses, and bulky Celebes. Getting the jump on them is so valuable that, okay, the Adamant Nature Focus Punches are delicious, but the speed tier is so important for Breloom, and this game kind of highlights it, where if he had outsped, if he was Jolly, then it would have been much closer. So he goes to Bliss, he's never breaking past this Zap, and the rest is just going through the motions. Looking back on this game, I felt like I made serious errors around turn 30-ish with my lax against the Fortress. And another potential error was handling that Zapdos in the first few turns. I don't know, this morning, I really felt out of it. Been really busy with real life things. Went to sleep at 2 a.m, got up at 6, and it's just been really busy. I had to cut out like a minute in the middle there. You might notice the timer randomly jumping. That was when I had to do something on my computer screen, and with everything recording, I cut that out afterwards. Yeah, I don't feel like I played this game well at all. What were z0mog's mistakes? Well, his biggest threats to me were his Zapdos and his Breloom, and he didn't position himself to get free turns out of those as much as he should have. Like, if he traps my Salamence with his Tyranitar earlier, Breloom is just killing everything. And if he forces my Zapdos into resting or rest looping, okay, but he can't really hurt Zapdos. So looking at this matchup, Zapdos can't kill my Zapdos, Swampert can't kill my Zapdos, Fortress can't, Blissey doesn't even have Ice Beam, Tyranitar doesn't have a rock move, doesn't have an ice move. So maybe this is a serious oversight on his end, just being super weak to Zapdos. Last week, Endil was really weak to my Restcoon, and this week z0mog is super weak to Rest Zapdos. Just reflecting a bit, I feel like I've really been bailed by helpful RNG this match, and also a lot of matches in a row now. For the past many tournaments, I've had positive, at least neutral or slightly positive RNG, and I feel like that's inflating my results a little bit. So I have a feeling that sometime in the future, when this good luck runs out, I'm going to come crashing down. So that's going to be a little bit embarrassing. Hopefully it doesn't happen anytime soon. And I'm now going to go check out BKC's video analysis. If you haven't already, check out BKC's channel. His analyses are so in-depth and they're a total pleasure to watch. I'll see you guys next week.